You're listening to Stimulus Tech Talk, a conversation-based podcast created by Stimulus Technologies that covers a range of topics related to business and technology.
Hello and welcome to Stimulus Tech Talk. I'm Nathan Whittacre, CEO of Stimulus Technologies, and we're really excited to have a guest on today at our podcast. Lisa Shorr and I have known each other for a few years now through a marketing group that we both belong to. And welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Welcome and hi, everybody.
And Sherry's the one that set this up, so that's why I mentioned her name first.
And hi, Sherry.
It's okay to mess up every once in a while on these podcasts. It makes it more human. But I'll read your bio real quick, Lisa, and it's always uncomfortable to sit there and listen to the bio, so we'll make you uncomfortable for about 90 seconds here. Lisa Shorr is a force to be reckoned with in the world of personal branding, leadership, marketing, and corporate communication. With over 26 years of experience under her belt, this powerhouse has left an incredible mark on businesses globally. As the owner of Shorr Success and Secure Future Tech Solutions, Lisa epitomizes innovation and excellence. Her journey is marked by notable achievements, including her role as a sales manager at Houghton Mifflin and the author of the acclaimed book, Your Brand Unleashed. Certified in advanced image consulting and corporate consultancy, Lisa's Shorr to Shine system has empowered countless individuals and organizations to elevate their brand presence. Her captivating presence and profound knowledge have made her a highly sought-after speaker, gracing numerous professional stages, podcasts, and webinars across the globe. Lisa's expertise extends beyond the stage, with her articles featured in prestigious publications such as PC World, Channel Pro Magazine, MSP Success, and Providence Business News. As a stylist, she transformed individuals for photo shoots, television, and private settings, exuding confidence and authenticity. A proud member of the Association of Image Consultants International, Lisa continues to advance her field and inspire fellow professionals with her infectious energy and unparalleled insights. And Lisa and I usually go to conferences, and the MC of the conference is Dave Rendell, who's a professional speaker. Yeah. And he usually makes fun of the people coming on stage by, making comparisons or names or rhymes with their names. And I'm sorry, I'm not that funny. So, we could come up with something what rhymes with Lisa or Shorr.
Well, Lisa Shorr is no bore. And we want to learn more. How about that?
There we go. Good job, Lisa. Coming up. I'll have to amp my game up to model Dave Rendell on these. So, well, welcome. I mean, that's a pretty impressive background. And it's, it's a little outside of our general topic about technology here, but I think it's an important part. You have two feet in different buckets, right? You have your technology company and you have Shorr Success that's branding. So how do they link together, and what led you to create this this brand?
Oh yeah. So they're integrally linked. So Shorr Success is actually an integral part of the IT business's growth and any business's growth. So my MSP or managed services provider company is 32 years old this year. I came on the scene when it was 6 years old. So we've been growing it ever since. And Shorr Success was born about, I would say 12 years ago or so, maybe a little bit more than that. We were starting to see some trouble in our company. We got fired, first of all, because of our phone skills. And a client said, every time I call, your team acts as if they have no idea who I am. And Nathan, this was a 10-year client. So shame on us for not paying attention. Then we got some more feedback from another client saying, don't send that engineer back. He makes me feel uncomfortable. He makes me feel stupid. And so Eric and I were just like, what the heck is going on? Like, how is this possible? We're certified up the hill. We're getting written up in all the great magazines, and our marketing is great. Our certifications are like amazing. So what the heck is going on? Like, why are we getting fired? Why are we getting this kind of feedback? And what we realized was that it's the human side. It's the human element, the human marketing that we weren't paying attention to. And that's a problem because people, especially in sales, people buy based on a feeling, a trust that your solution is going to do what it says it's going to do. So once we started looking at really delving into, okay, let's put together all of the problems we were having. And by the way, this resulted in 5 years of stagnant growth. And we then looked at our name, our company name at the time. And so we put all of this in a bucket, like all of this, all these problems. We were PC troubleshooters at the time. We rebranded to Secure Future Tech Solutions. And then as Shorr Success came to be, because I started making changes culturally within our IT company. I started looking first at how we were handling the phones. I created scripts. I created a process. Then I started looking at our appearance. What did my team members look like? So a little background is I joined the Association of Image Consultants because I wanted to be at first as a part-time stylist. My favorite thing is getting dressed, going into my closet and just feeling zen. And I love the way clothing makes people feel, the power, the messaging. So I was a stylist at first. And in my bio, you hear that I was doing some photo shoots. But what I decided was I needed to expand those services. And so I went from Shorr Style to Shorr Success because I wanted to see success in my own IT company. And then I was like, well, if I'm doing it here, and then I started talking to other people in our industry, they wanted the help. I said, let me turn this into a business. And so that's how it had forayed.
It's interesting. I mean, you think back at how our industry is portrayed, the Saturday Night Live IT guy that comes in, and is rude and, dressed poorly. And, what is his famous line? Like, move, it's certainly like not a good, image. And I'm sure none of your techs walk into their closet in the morning and, feel great about, styling themselves. That's not what, it naturally want to do that. Our industry is, we as technicians, we go into it because we love, the technology side of it. And as I talk to my people about is, even though we're a technology business, we're still servicing and selling to people. We're solving people problems every day.
Right.
And so, it's whether it's helping a client or defending against, a social engineering attack or whatever it may be, these are still people problems. We're dealing with people every day. And so it's hard to get that mindset in whatever business you're in. People go into automotive industries because they like working on cars. So how does that evolve? How do you talk to people about, changing that idea around working on things to helping people?
So the way that my strategy was and still is, we first have the conversation of, and I actually just said this to my staff meeting today during our morning huddle. We have a huddle every day. We have a meeting, and today I mentioned that we're all leaders in the company. Every single one of us has an impact, first of all, on each other and the role that we play. So we were talking about our sales, and we just closed a couple of cool deals, and which will then go to our procurement, and then which will then go to our accounts payable and receivable, which will then reach the desk of our service department. So the first is to understand that there are no silos in an IT company. So I start to shift the mindset of thinking I'm just a bench tech. I'm just to saying, I'm actually an integral part of the process. And so we start there. And then we have conversations of, okay, what does a leader look like? What is our brand coloring? What's our core values? And so how do we look to align with that? Part of it's uniforms. Part of it is providing the team with uniforms and having the logo on their shirts, and they give them baseball hats, fleece jackets, so that I take a lot of the guesswork out of what to wear. But we have conversations of why we wear it. When we get dressed every day, there's a true reason why we get dressed. I mean, there's multiple facets. You have to think about, how's the clothing going to make me feel? But also, am I going to be a distraction to whoever's listening to me? Am I going to be a distraction if you're in sales? Are they going to listen to why it's so important to upgrade your server? Or are they going to be like, oh my gosh, they haven't showered in 10 days. Or they look like a hot mess. Did they even care about rolling out of bed and grooming and coming into my office, which is a professional office? Well, then that's what they remember. So we have those conversations from the entire company. And one of the stances I always take is that it's not just the leaders and the salespeople that need to think about this, because truthfully, your engineers are selling without actually making a pitch. So they are truly integral parts of the sales process, because they enable, when a QBR happens or quarterly business review meeting happens, they can help enable sales on that end. So it's critical that they all have rapport. They all understand the brand. They all understand their role in the success of the organization, which then, of course, leads to their own success. So, and their growth in the company.
I really like what you said at the beginning too about the uniform. I think when we think uniforms, there's certainly a lot of organizations that have uniforms, whether it's police, firemen, or military, Boy Scouts. I think there's a lot that goes into the uniform. It makes you feel like you belong to something, as part of something. Right. You're hopefully a different person in that uniform, and you're representing the entire organization when you're in that uniform. I guess the question that I had, though, is as we've moved to, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening here are in a hybrid or remote work. I'm sitting in my home office. I think you mentioned you were sitting in your home office too, and a lot of people are like, well, the joke is I don't wear pants when on my Zoom meetings or whatever. During COVID, that was the big joke. And I've encouraged my team to dress just like they were going to the office, because it does present differently, whether you're just working behind the screen all day in your house versus, wearing your pajamas or whatever. What's your thoughts on that? Like, how do you bridge that gap when you're working remotely, even if you're not on camera all day? What does dressing up for that mean?
So there are two thoughts I have on that. One is a scientific study. And so there aren't a lot of studies on clothing and all of that, but it's starting. And so Northwestern University did a study, and it's called Enclothed Cognition. And so I encourage you to research it. And it's essentially saying that clothing impacts how we perceive ourselves, how we feel and perceive ourselves. It's a fascinating study. And that right there impacts our day-to-day. And there's been a lot of our society has become so much more casual, and it's not a surprise that our fashion and our clothing and our wardrobe they call it athleisure now. And, that's more of the fashion and the style. And personally, I know I'm going to be controversial in saying this, but I really miss getting dressed up every day. I really miss that, a little bit of pomp and circumstance of, I'm going to be with my peers. I'm walking into the office. I need to really think about that. I think that there's a lot of evolution happening, and that is changing quite a bit. So And clothes cognition is important. The other piece is, even if we're in a hybrid environment, our appearance, it's even harder because we only have this little box here that we're speaking to right now. We have to work even harder to think about our appearance because it's still making an impression. What perception do you want to leave with the other person? And so I always tell people, turn your camera on and think about at least the waist up. But we had a vendor meeting during COVID, and she had pajama pants on. She had a cup of hot tea. Her cat jumped on the countertop, and she jumped up with the cat, to get the cat so the cat wasn't burned by the tea. And she had this great sweater on, pearl necklace, and plaid pajama pants. So that still happens today. I know that. I'm not naive to that, but be very mindful that you're setting an impression, and perception matters. And we remember perception. We remember how you made us feel. And so it's critical to maintain credibility with what you're wearing. When you're on camera, when you're in the office, you want to, even online, socially, on your LinkedIn profile, and all of that needs to be consistent so that you're believed, you're trusted, and people you're not giving people a reason to doubt you. It's hard enough to get business. I mean, in our industry, you know that, Nathan, there's so many MSPs out there. Oh my God, how do we differentiate ourselves? This is one of the ways. This is a differentiator.
And my wife laughs at me because I go all the way down to putting on dress socks to go into the office,
Love it. Oh, thank you.
I like the different, we used to drive home from work, and that's when, we'd come home and put on some comfortable clothing when we get home. And, there was no break. There's now no break between, if we're working from home to going, home, and having that differentiator, between, our work time and our home time. I think the clothing helps with that too. So that's my personal feeling on it. So I'm sitting here, wearing dress socks. I don't have any plans to go out and meet with clients today, but I still put them on no matter what.
But you and I are meeting, hundreds and hundreds of people are going to see this podcast, and it's going to, so what impression are you making? And, Stimulus has a reputation, and you need to be consistent with that. So you want to position yourself as an authority, and, your clothing matters. And by the way, your employees mirror what the leader does. So speaking specifically to the leader of a company, the manager of a company, the CEO, the COO, the employees are watching everything we do. Everything we do is being monitored. And if we show up casual, that's going to become the culture. If we make an effort and we show up with pride in how we appear, which demonstrates pride in the brand, that message gets sent down throughout the company. So it's really important to think about the impact. Yeah.
I agree 100%. So let's shift gears a little bit. So you published a book. Talk to me about the process. Almost? Okay, you're
right
close.
There. End of Q2, we're done.
So how's the process been? I know it was daunting for me, much longer than expected. So how's it been for you?
Long. Yep. Just like you. I've always wanted to write a book, never knew what to write it about. And then I created, part of my Shorr to Shine system is, I call it my Shorr to Shine system because I want everybody to shine. I think I married a great name. I like the name Shorr, and I think that's got a little subliminal message. And my mission is always to help people shine in whatever way that is, whether it's internally at my IT company, making our clients shine through their technology, whether it's working with one-on-one or a group or another MSP on helping their team shine and communicate. That's been critical for me. So this book has been years in the making, and I took my whole coaching program and put it into a book. So it'll be, people can digest it. I kind of used the traction idea of how you can take traction and you can implement yourself. You're better, I think you could be better off having a traction coach, obviously. So, but you can take it, you can implement it. The same with your brand unleashed. You can take it, you can implement it. I would love to work with companies on it, but it's a critical component in how to build relationships. So it's been a labor of love. I had to think about different stories and relive some of the painful stories in my past that really bring the book to life and set the tone of us moving forward as business owners, as small and medium-sized business owners. We have a unique set of challenges where so much falls on us. And how do we do that? How do we build that relationship? And when there's so much competition, we can't be the best kept secret. We got to get out and network and get out there but in a way that authentically aligns with our brand and shares the message of, I'm the authority here. Hey, listen to me. Let me help you. Don't go it alone. Let me help you.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. I mean, that's what two things I found in writing the book. The stories were a big part of it, just remembering some of those things of why I do this today, and it makes the message a lot clearer to share those stories, but it also defines like, what is it that you're really going to present? What is your policies and your way of executing your work? So, maybe can you run through a couple other tips other than the clothing and presentation? Mm-hmm. There's some other things you work with companies on?
I sure do. Yeah. So we talk a lot about emotional intelligence, and I talk about head trash. So we always begin our engagements together by going through a lot of the head trash. Oh, the client is cheap. They don't want to spend money. I can't do it. It's not part of my job. It's not. So we kind of run through a lot of that head trash. And then we build from there. So the brand method starts with our mindset, goal setting. We always make sure that everything we do aligns with some goals. And then, we go in. I think one of my favorite tips and that I talk about is all about training your engineers to make a pitch without actually pitching. So when your engineers have rapport, think of themselves as partners and not just a technician going in to close a ticket. And they think of the client as a friend, but as a business partner, and that they're there to be an advisor, a trusted advisor. You have that relationship. Then if you see a switch full, for example, you can't add any new devices to the network, then if your engineer is trained and coached, they can say things like, I noticed your switch is full and we can't put any more devices on it. It's really limiting your growth. Can I have Eric in sales give you a call to talk about it? Sure, no problem. And so a lot of those sales pitches are recommendations, but you're not really making a pitch. You're making a suggestion. And it comes across less salesy than when, whoever's in your sales department. I don't know, Nathan, if you're the key salesperson and you're going and you're scheduling a QBR, your client knows you're going to be selling them. They already go in knowing like, what are you selling me now, Nathan? I already upgraded my computers. What do you need from me now? But when an engineer makes that recommendation, it's not in a way that it's perceived. So the key word I talk about is perception, and image is all about perception. It's how do you want to be perceived by others? How do you want the client to perceive you and your brand? So that's an area that I coach quite a bit on. I provide some conversation starters. And then I think the last cool tip is to understand that our voice, one of my favorite areas to coach on is how we vary our voice depending on conversations, depending on our department that we're in. So a great coaching example is if I'm working with a dispatcher. When the dispatcher answers a call, they have to have a excited voice. Good morning. Thank you for calling Stimulus Technologies. Lisa speaking. How can I help you? Then your client on the other end says, I'm about to go to court and I can't access the file. I need help. I'm stressed. Oh my gosh. So then your dispatcher has to be mindful and emotionally intelligent enough to say, okay, let me get the ticket in the system. Tell me where you looked for this so I can put that note in the system. So when my engineer calls you back, or let me put you on hold, let me grab an engineer for you. But notice I changed the tone of my voice. Too often, a lot of complaints that I get when MSPs hire me, it's because engineers or team members in general, service managers, either sound disinterested and they sound monotone and disinterested. And how can I fix your ticket? Yes. Okay, well, let me log in. Why don't we start a remote session, right? Versus, okay, I hear that you're having a problem. Let's get a remote session started. Let's see if we can solve this for you. Our voice matters immensely. And so I do a lot of coaching on when, how, and why to vary our voice. So those are some strategies.
Yeah, and I think that goes across too as our text communication, when we're emailing customers or putting notes in tickets.
Well, that's another area, yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly not just our verbal voice, but our written voice. And it is, we run into issues periodically as, if the technician is very brief or it comes across as very potentially rude, in the text, and it's not meant to be, that could escalate an issue much further than it should. So I think we have to be very mindful in this technology day and age to ensure that what we're writing is going to come out positively on the other side of it. And sometimes I even read my emails aloud or, go back through and reread it to see how it sounds. Heck, throw it in an AI generator and say, how does this sound to the other side? And, it'll maybe let you know. But I think our written communication is just the same. It's how we say things really does matter. It's not just what we say.
It's critical. I actually there's a section in my book on email communication, and I call them email errors and how to fix them. So I identified about 5 different email errors that I have seen throughout my years, either through a client or something that's come across my desk. And how do you fix it? Like, not only like the tone and having all caps or exclamation points, but also grammatical errors. I mean, how often do you see you're welcome wrong in an email? I could probably every week somebody signs an email, you're welcome. And it's instead of saying YOU apostrophe RE, you are welcome, it's your YOUR. But that version is your gift, your clothing, your business. It's a very different usage of the word. So even being grammatically aware, because every detail leads to perception, our intelligence, our knowledge, our attention to detail. So I'm just the person that focuses on the nitty gritty of all of that, the human side of our nitty gritty. So, but it's critical.
Yeah, I certainly, and I consider that when dealing with vendors. I often think about that too when I get emails from vendors and, dealing with different people. If I'm being sold to, if the salespeople or the technical people are not communicating in a way that, is a positive or, grammatically correct, I don't know how the rest of their company is going to be. So it does make a huge difference. And so how do you could train people, and I'm sure it's frustrating because a lot of people end up being like a boomerang. They go back to the easiest habits possible. How do you get the entire team on board with this and believe in it? Like I kind of started off the conversation, technicians, engineers, whatever it may be, are people that are technical or highly skilled go into that because they like working on the thing that they're working on, whether it's computers or a car or tax returns or teeth. How do you convince the entire team to make this an important part of the business?
First, I need buy-in from the owner. It has to be a cultural It has to for image and customer service and the understanding of the power of, it's really client experience. What is the client experiencing? And how do you get those CSAT scores up? And so first I talked to the owner about the power of image and why it's so important and what does it impact? It's not like it's impacting it. You can't just like watch a backup. When you see a backup, or you have something like, email spam filtering or whatever it is, you can see what's getting caught. It's like a physical or visual thing. Image is noted when churn decreases, when employee turnover decreases, when CSAT scores and NPS, scores go up. And then ultimately, you're going to see an increase in growth in your company. So it has a direct, people like, oh, image doesn't have a direct relation to profitability in your company. And I'm like, it's the number one indicator of, I think, direct relating to your growth, because you can have all the same tech. You and I probably can compare tech stacks. It'll be the same, a lot of the same. But how do we make our clients feel? It's painful for a client to move from one to the other, but they'll do it if they're feeling that much pain. And so it has to start with the owner. And then 90% of the time, I train the entire team. And it's not a one and done workshop. It's typically a 6-month engagement together. So we're reinforcing messages over and over again to talk about the process too. And then there are some tangibles that come out of it. But at the end of the day, Chet Holmes from The Ultimate Sales Machine, he had a quote, and I love it. People respect what you inspect. So it's up to the owner and the team to say, this is how I want to be perceived. This is where I need to be perceived. I'll teach you the skills, the strategies, the foundation. We'll do role playing. I'll give you all of that. I'll give you the uniform. We'll talk about all of that. I have workbooks, all of that. But at the end of the day, once the engagement is up, people can work with me monthly, quarterly as well. But just like monitoring a backup, if you don't monitor the backup, you may find one day it wasn't actually backing up. If you don't monitor your image, then you're going to find one day, just like I experienced, you could get fired. And who wants to get fired? How can we afford to get fired? Same with the monitoring, employee training for cybersecurity. We've got a webinar presentation coming up with our bar association. And so I was working on some of those slides earlier today. If we don't monitor and train our team on how to identify phishing emails, what to look for, how will they know? The same thing with our clothing, with our voice. If we're not made aware, how will we know? Because not everybody was raised the same. We were raised all different cultures, different families, different backgrounds, but we all come together in this beautiful melding pot and called life. And so how do we want to be perceived by others? So there's a lot of ownership on both sides.
Excellent. So if somebody wants to engage with you, how do they find you? And when is your book coming out? I guess that's the other question.
My book will be done and edited. It will be out Q3. It'll be out Q3 of this year. So be ready. It's here. I'm just final edits right now. And my publisher is doing final edits on their end. It's already designed and all of that. I approved all that. So it's coming. It's coming. I can't wait to do the final launch. If you want to get in touch with me, go to shorrsuccess.com, SHORR success.com. I have my calendar link right on the top of the page, right in the middle there. Book a meeting with me. Let's have a conversation about client experience and how that directly impacts the growth of your company. So I'd love to have that conversation.
Well, excellent. Thanks so much for being on today, Lisa. I learned a lot, and hopefully everybody that was listening learned an important aspect of business that sometimes we don't think about as much as we should, because it does impact the client experience dramatically. And so thank you again for your insights today. And thanks to everybody for listening to Stimulus Tech Talk.
Thank you so much, Nathan, for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Have a good day, everybody.